The velvet cushion felt wrong beneath. Richard Hayes, around him the Galactic. Assembly hall stretched upward like a cathedral built by beings who had forgotten what ceilings were for. 12 species sat in their designated sections, each area designed for their unique biology. The aquatic ancients floated in pressurized water columns. The silicon-based crystallites rested on heated platforms. Richard was the only human in a room designed for everyone but humans. High Magistrate Drell's water column bubbled. As the ancient amphibian spoke, we acknowledge the presence of humanity. Your application for council membership has been reviewed. Richard stood. Protocol demanded it. High Magistrate honored council members. Humanity is grateful for your consideration. Consideration, yes. Drell's bulbous eyes swiveled to focus on Richard. However, we have discovered troubling aspects of human civilization. Your military records reveal an obsession with kinetic weapons. A ripple of sounds moved through the chamber. His translation device worked over time. We use projectile weapons. Yes, Richard said carefully, as do many species during their development. During development, Ambassador, a crystallite delegate's voice chimed like breaking glass. Civilized species evolved beyond throwing rocks at each other. Richard felt heat creep up his neck. With respect, our weapons are more sophisticated than rocks. Sophistication is relative. Drell gestured with a webbed appendage. All weapons in civilized space must be energy-based. Plasma, lasers, particle beams. These can be regulated, measured, and controlled. Kinetic weapons are chaotic, barbaric. They're also effective. Richard countered. Against whom? A delegate from the hive minds asked. We have maintained peace for 6,000 years using regulated energy weapons. Our shields are calibrated for energy dispersion. Your primitive projectiles have no place in this order. Richard took a slow breath. High Magistrate, humanity has used kinetic weapons for our entire history. Our ships are defense platforms, even our personal sidearms. You're asking us to dismantle our entire military infrastructure. We are asking you to join civilization. Drell said. The water in his column rippled. Every species that joins this council makes sacrifices. The flame dancers gave up biological weapons. The swarm queens abandoned their planet. Crackers, this is the price of peace. And if we refuse? Silence dropped over the chamber. Richard immediately regretted his words. Drell's eyes narrowed. Then humanity remains isolated. No trade agreements. No technological exchanges. No protection under council law. When they rogue empires come calling, and they will, you will face them alone. Richard's jaw tightened. The Dominion, the Swarm Collective, the Ravager clans. They respect your energy weapon treaties. They test our borders. Observer Finn spoke from her section. But they know our combined energy weapons can repel any invasion. Have you fought them recently? Richard asked. We don't need to fight, Drell said. Deterrence maintains peace. Our fleets are powerful enough that the rogues dare not attack in force. Richard wanted to argue. He wanted to explain that the Council's 6,000 years of peace might have made them complacent, that in human history, long periods of peace usually ended with someone discovering their weapons had become obsolete. But he held his tongue. The Council gives humanity 30 standard days to comply, Drell announced. Dismantle Kinetic weapons, submit your military to energy weapon reconfiguration. Then we shall welcome you with open appendages. And if Earth's government needs more time to consider, 30 days, Ambassador Hayes, we are not negotiating accept or decline. The session ended with a harmonic tone. As delegates filed out, Observer Finn approached. She was humanoid, though her skin shifted colors with her emotions. Right now purple with concern. They won't budge, she said quietly. Elder species believe their way is the only way because it's worked for 6,000 years, Richard said. Exactly. They can't imagine another approach. Finn glanced around nervously. My species gave up our magnetic weapons 200 years ago. It was difficult, but we adapted. Magnetic weapons like railguns, similar principle, accelerating metal using electromagnetic force. The Council deemed them too unpredictable. Her skin shifted to gray. Between us, I think we were stronger before. Richard nodded slowly. Thank you for the honesty. Observer Finn, back in his quarters, Richard encrypted a message to Earth. Admiral Wolf, they're demanding complete disarmament of kinetic weapons. 30 days to comply. They don't understand what they're asking. More importantly, they don't understand what they're giving up. He paused, then added more. The Council is powerful but rigid. They've optimized themselves for one type of warfare. If the rogue empires ever adapt to energy weapons, the Council will have no fallback position. Recommend we appear to comply while maintaining strategic deterrence. Options. Richard sent the message and poured himself a drink through his viewport. The Council home world of Primarch rotated slowly below. Beautiful, ancient, confident in 6,000 years of tradition. He thought about human history. All the empires that believed they'd achieved perfection right before someone proved them wrong. The knights in shining armor who met gunpowder, the battleships that ruled the seas until aircraft carriers changed everything. The Council wasn't evil. They were stuck in their successful past, unable to imagine that success could become vulnerability. Richard finished his drink and began drafting humanity's official response. 30 days wasn't much time, but his species had a talent for working miracles under pressure. They'd split atoms in a desert, put footprints on their moon, and built ships that crossed the stars, dismantling a few rail guns to satisfy some ancient bureaucrats. That would be the easy part. The hard part would be deciding which weapons to actually dismantle and which ones to hide. Geneva Station floated above Earth like a steel flower. Admiral Patricia Wolf walked through corridors she traveled for 20 years, but today the familiar metal walls felt heavier. The weight of impossible decisions pressed on her shoulders. The war room doors opened to reveal Earth's finest military minds already assembled. At the center, a holographic display showed Richard's encrypted report floating in amber light. Let's be clear about what they're demanding, Patricia said. Council wants us to dismantle every kinetic weapon in our arsenal, every railgun, every coil gun, every mass driver. That's insane, General Brooks muttered. We'd be defenseless. Not defenseless, Chief Engineer Raymond crossed. They're offering energy weapon technology, plasma cannons, particle beams, laser batteries, weapons their shields are designed to stop. Patricia said we'd be fighting on their terms, using their rule book. The holographic display shifted to show the 3 rogue empires, red zones, marked Dominion space, green for the Swarm Collective, yellow for the Ravager clan. Intelligence assessment, Patricia said, nodding to Agent Walsh. Walsh stood, his face grim. The rogues have been probing Council defenses for 5 years, small skirmishes testing response times. Each engagement shows them adapting how? New armor compositions, reflective coatings that disperse laser impacts, magnetic fields that deflect particle beams. They're learning to counter energy weapons. Patricia let that sink in. The Council was optimizing for the current threat, but the threat was evolving. Show them the prototype, she said. Raymond stood. The hologram changed to display a massive cylindrical weapon. The Mark 7 Railgun, 2 km long, magnetic acceleration coils capable of propelling a tungsten slug to 3% light speed. Silence filled the room. How much damage? Brooks asked quietly. We've run simulations. Raymond pulled up impact models. Council shields are designed to disperse energy across surfaces, but kinetic energy, there's nowhere for it to go. A single Mark 7 round would punch through any ship in Council space. How many have we built? One mounted on the UED's Retribution. We've never fired it at full power. The energy requirements are enormous. Firing would drain the ship's reactor and leave it vulnerable for 15 minutes. 15 minutes is an eternity in combat. Brooks said, it's also enough time to end the battle, Patricia countered. The room erupted in debate. Some argued for compliance, others wanted to refuse the Council's demands. Patricia let them argue. Finally, she raised her hand for silence. The Council expects public disarmament. Inspector teams will verify compliance. She paused, but they're bureaucrats, not soldiers. They'll look for what they expect to find. Understanding spread through the room. We send them our old equipment, Patricia continued. Decommissioned destroyers with visible railgun mounts. We make a show of melting them down. And the Mark 7, Raymond asked, stays classified. The Retribution undergoes routine maintenance at our deep space facility. As far as Council records show, she's just another destroyer. You're proposing we lie to them, Brooks said. I'm proposing we maintain strategic flexibility, Patricia corrected. The Council built their entire military doctrine on one assumption, that energy weapons are the only weapons that matter. She pulled up historical data. In 1274, Mongol invaders attacked Japan with superior cavalry. The samurai fought according to traditional rules, honor duels. The Mongols didn't care about honor. Japan nearly fell because they couldn't adapt their thinking. The Council is the samurai, Walsh said slowly, and the rogue empires are the Mongols. They won't play by established rules if those rules don't serve them. Patricia looked around the room. We're the new variable, the species that still remembers how to throw rocks. Why should we help? Someone asked. They're demanding we disarm because isolation is death, Patricia said flatly. Earth needs allies, trade routes, technology exchanges, but we also need to be ready for when their perfect system meets imperfect reality. She called up an image of the Retribution, beautiful ship, sleek lines, impossible weapons hidden inside her hull. Captain Diana Ross commands the Retribution. She lost family in the border wars. She knows what it means to fight without allies. Patricia's voice softened. I'm asking her to carry the weight of our hidden sword. The vote was unanimous. Earth would comply publicly. Dismantle visible weapons, except Council inspectors with open arms, but in the dark between stars, the Retribution would wait, charging her capacitors, calibrating her weapon, ready for the day when the galaxy learned that humanity's primitiveness was their greatest strength. Patricia drafted the response to Richard, make it happen, smile for the cameras. Then she added one more line encrypted at the highest level, keep your eyes on the rogue empires. When they move, they'll move fast, and when they do, humanity will remind the galaxy why underestimating anyone is a fatal mistake. The distress signal reached Earth during Admiral Wolf's fourth cup of coffee. The signal changed everything. Council fleet under attack, Sector 7. Gamma. The communications officer reported Dominion forces heavy casualties. Patricia's hand stopped. Verification. Cross-reference with 3 sources. High Magistrate Drill is commanding the Defense Fleet. The officer's voice cracked. They're being slaughtered. Holographic display materialized. Red. Enemy markers swarmed. Blue Council positions. 2 blue markers winked out. As she watched, where's the Retribution? 3 hours out at maximum, faster than light speed. Patricia studied the battlefield. The Dominion had brought hundreds of ships. The Council forces numbered less than 50. Energy weapons flashed back and forth, but the Council ships were dying faster. Admiral Walsh appeared with his tablet. The Dominion developed new armor, crystalline matrix that disperses energy. Weapon impacts. Council weapons need sustained fire to penetrate. They're being overwhelmed by numbers. Patricia could let them burn. Council would be weakened. Humanity could step into the power vacuum. Her father would have done that, but she wasn't her father. Get me Captain Ross. Priority channel. Diana Ross's face appeared. Admiral, we're monitoring the distress calls. What's your status? All systems green. The Mark 7 is charged and ready. Diana's jaw tightened. Permission to engage. Patricia looked at the display. More blue markers disappearing. The Council demanded we dismantle our weapons. Called us primitive. Your family died in a conflict. They refused to mediate. Yes, ma'am. So tell me if you can fire on Dominion forces to save Council lives. Once that weapon fires, the secret's out. Diana was quiet for 3 seconds. My brother died because he couldn't get support when he needed it. Because politics mattered more than lives. She looked at the camera. I won't let that happen to anyone else, even if they were wrong about us. Patricia nodded. The Retribution is weapons free, Captain. Show them what primitive means. She opened a line to Richard Hayes. Richard, things are about to get complicated. How complicated? That strategic flexibility is about to fire a tungsten rod through the Dominion flagship at 3% light speed. Richard's face went pale. The Council will know we lied. The Council will be alive to complain about it on the Retribution's bridge. Diana studied her screens. The Dominion flagship Crusher of Suns dominated their formation. Massive, heavily armored, currently destroying a Council cruiser. Tactical firing solution on the Dominion flagship. Target maneuvering tracking. Her tactical officer's hands flew across. Controls. Solution locked. 200,000 kilometers. Engineering status on the Mark 7. Raymond Cross's voice came through from Earth. Capacitors at full charge. Magnetic coils aligned. Diana opened the channel. High Magistrate. Drell, this is Captain Diana Ross of the Earthship Retribution. Recommend you clear your forces from Vector 77 Alpha. Drell's water-distorted voice came back. Confused, Captain Ross, you should retreat. Your ship is not equipped for this combat. With respect, you don't know what we're equipped for. Clear that. Vector now, something in her voice convinced him. The Council ships began moving. The Dominion noticed 15 warships broke toward the Retribution. Energy weapons reached across the void. The shields absorbed the first impacts. 90 seconds to firing solution. Diana. Watch the enemy closing. All non-essential systems offline. Route everything to the Mark 7. The lights dimmed. Life support dropped to minimum. Every ounce of reactor power flowed into the railgun. 60 seconds more impacts. Shields at 40%. Council ships moved to intercept the Dominion attackers. Drell's voice came across all channels. All vessels protect the human ship, whatever they're planning. Buy them time. Diana felt unexpected gratitude. These beings who demanded humanity disarm were now throwing themselves between her ship and destruction. 30 seconds. The Crusher of Suns remained unaware. Its shields were designed for energy weapons. Its armor built to disperse plasma and reflect lasers. Both systems were useless against what was coming. 10 seconds. Target locked. Diana's hand hovered over the firing control. 500 kg of tungsten carbide. About to accelerate to 900 km per second. Fire. The Retribution lurched backward. Every crew member felt the recoil through their bones. Emergency systems screamed as the reactor struggled to compensate. The projectile was invisible. No energy signature, no heat bloom, just mass and velocity. It crossed 200,000 km in 3.7 seconds. The Crusher of Suns' shields never activated. They were calibrated for energy wavelengths. The targeting systems didn't register the incoming threat because it had no power signature. The tungsten rod struck the flagship's forward section at 900 km per second. The kinetic energy release was catastrophic. The projectile punched through 400 m of armor supports and hull plating. The flagship broke in half. Internal explosions cascaded through both sections. Reactor containment failed. In 7 seconds, the Dominion's Pride became an expanding debris field. Every ship in the battle zone stopped firing. Silence fell across all channels. High Magistrate Drill whispered by the ancient depths. What have they done? Admiral Kraft's voice came from a Dominion secondary ship. Impossible. Our sensors detected no weapon charging, no energy buildup. Nothing. Diana opened the channel. That's because you were looking for the wrong kind of weapon. The Dominion fleet faced a choice. 15 minutes until the railgun could fire again. 15 minutes to either retreat or face an unknown weapon they couldn't defend against. Admiral Crara made his decision. All ships fall back to the border. Full retreat. The red markers on Patricia's tactical display began withdrawing. The Council fleet held position, too shocked to pursue. Across the galaxy, rulers watched recordings of a primitive human weapon destroying what energy weapons could not. In throne rooms and command centers, the same realization Dawn, the rules had changed and humanity had changed them. High. Magistrate Drell floated in his water column aboard the human ship, 27 days ago. He demanded humanity dismantle their weapons. Now he stood in the belly of the ship that had saved his fleet, using a weapon humans claimed not to have. Captain Diana Ross waited while Drell's translator processed his thoughts. I wish to see it, he said. Finally, Diana nodded. Follow me. They walked through the ship's spine. Corridors here were wider, reinforced. They reached a sealed bulkhead marked with warning symbols. Beyond this point is the Mark 7 rail gun, Diana said. 2 km of electromagnetic acceleration coils, all hidden in what your inspectors classified as a standard cargo spine. Drell's eyes narrowed. You deliberately deceived us. We maintain strategic flexibility. There's a difference. Bulkhead opened. The rail gun stretched before them like a cathedral built for destruction. Magnetic coils lined the barrel in perfect geometric precision. Drill floated closer. How many projectiles do you have? 12 tungsten carbide rounds, each capable of punching through any ship in Council space. And if we had tried to force compliance, Diana met his gaze, then those warships would have learned the same lesson they Dominion did. Drell was silent. Water circulated through his column. Finally, he spoke. I have lived for 100 years. I believed I understood the patterns of civilization. And now I realize I have been a fool. We built our entire doctrine on the assumption that we had achieved the pinnacle of military technology, energy. Weapons seemed so elegant, so controllable. They are elegant, Diana said, but they are not enough. The Dominion adapted. They built armor our weapons could barely scratch, and we had no answer, because we had forbidden ourselves from thinking differently. Diana walked alongside his column. My brother died 3 years ago. Border skirmish. He called for council support. You had ships in the sector. They didn't respond because the conflict didn't meet your threshold for intervention. Drell's water rippled. The council deemed it an internal matter. He died because politics mattered more than lives, because you had rules and procedures and perfect systems that didn't account for messy reality. Diana stopped her hand on the rail gun's casing. I could have let you die out there, called it justice. Why didn't you? Because my brother wouldn't have wanted that. He believed in helping people even when they didn't deserve it. She looked at Drell. Humanity isn't primitive because we use kinetic weapons. We're different because we've learned that survival requires adaptation. That rule should serve people, not the other way around. Back on Earth, Richard Hayes prepared for the most difficult diplomatic session of his career. The council had convened an emergency session. He stood before the same chamber where they demanded humanity's disarmament. Ambassador Hayes, Drell began, humanity has deployed a weapon in violation of our agreement. With respect, we violated no agreement. We never formally accepted your terms. The 30-day deadline hadn't expired. A technicality. A fact. Furthermore, we did dismantle the weapons you inspected. Every piece of equipment your teams examined was destroyed as promised, but you hid others. We maintained defensive capabilities as any sovereign species would. Richard looked around the chamber. The council demanded we join your system, accept your rules, trust in your protection. Then the Dominion attacked with weapons specifically designed to counter your defenses. Where was the protection you promised? Murmurs spread through the chamber. Your weapon killed 40,000 Dominion personnel. A crystallite delegate said, our weapon saved 200,000 council personnel. Richard countered, including High Magistrate Drill himself, would you prefer we had let them die? You should have shared your technology. Why so? You could regulate it, control it. Richard's voice hardened. The Dominion adapted to your energy weapons in 5 years. How long before they adapt to whatever else you develop? You need diversity, not homogeneity. Observer Finn spoke up. Ambassador Hayes raises a valid concern. Our reliance on a single weapons doctrine created a vulnerability. Perhaps we should consider alternative approaches. Alternative approaches, an elder delegate scoffed. Return to throwing rocks. We should return to thinking. Richard said. He pulled up historical data from Earth. My species fought wars for thousands of years. We learned a hard truth. The side that adapts fastest survives longest. Archers beat swords. Guns beat archers. Tanks beat guns. Each generation thought they'd reached the ultimate weapon. Each generation was wrong, so endless escalation. Drell asked. I'm suggesting humility. Your energy weapons are incredible, but they're not the final answer. Nothing is. Richard looked at the High Magistrate. You can expel us, sanction us, declare us enemies, but the Dominion is still out there. The Swarm Collective is watching. The Ravager clans are taking notes. They all saw what happened. What are you proposing? Ambassador, a partnership. You keep your energy weapons, we keep our kinetic weapons. We share defensive technologies, but maintain distinct approaches. When the next threat comes, we face it together with complementary capabilities instead of identical vulnerabilities. The chamber fell silent. Pride versus pragmatism, tradition versus survival. Finally, Drell spoke. I will propose a vote, modified membership for humanity, full council participation, military autonomy, joint defense coordination. He paused. Those in favor, 9 appendages. Rose. Those opposed, 3. The measure passes. Drell looked at Richard. Welcome to the council, Ambassador Hayes, though perhaps we should be welcoming you to save us from ourselves. Richard allowed himself a small smile. Humanity had just become the most junior member of an ancient alliance and also its most dangerous guardian. 6 months changed everything. The joint training facility orbited between Earth and the Council home world. Inside, human engineers worked alongside Council scientists, trading knowledge. Both sides had once hoarded. Diana Ross walked through the facility's main corridor. Her uniform carried 2 insignias: Earth Defense and Council Joint Operations. Admiral Ross, Observer Finn approached, her skin shifting to friendly blue. Prototype is ready. They entered the engineering bay. In the center sat a ship belonging to no single species. Council energy shields wrapped around a human-designed hull. Railgun mount sat beside plasma batteries. The peacekeeper, Finn said, first of her class. Chief Engineer Raymond Cross stood beside the ship. Next to him was Scientist Thally, a crystallite who'd spent decades perfecting energy weapons. 6 months ago, they would have been enemies. Now they argued like old friends. The energy distribution is inefficient, Thally chimed. The rail gun draws too much power during charge cycles. Then we stagger the charge times. Raymond countered, fire the plasma batteries while the railgun charges. That requires perfect coordination, which we now have. Raymond gestured to the ship's integrated combat system. Diana approached, status report, complaining about each other's designs. Raymond said with a grin, so normal. Talali's crystalline structure flickered. With amusement, the human believes kinetic weapons solve all problems. The crystallite believes energy shields are infallible. Raymond shot back. Gentlemen, Diana interrupted, does it work? They looked at each other. Yes, they said in unison. Across the galaxy, Admiral Krath of the Dominion stood in his rebuilt flagship's war room. The Crusher of Suns had been replaced with the unyielding hammer. Show me the human weapon again, he commanded. The holographic recording played the tungsten rod striking his predecessors. Flagship, the catastrophic impact. We've analyzed the physics, his chief scientist reported. The weapon relies on pure kinetic energy, no exotic particles, just mass and velocity. Can we build it? In theory, yes. The energy requirements are substantial. The magnetic coils must be precisely aligned. It would take years to perfect. We don't have years. The Council and humans are combining their technologies. Kraft studied the tactical display. Council space glowed blue, human territory showed green, the rogue empires remained red. The balance of power was shifting. What about the swarm? Collective, the Ravager clans. Watching, waiting, neither wants to test. The new alliance first. Open a secure channel to the collective, propose a meeting. If we can't defeat the alliance separately, perhaps we can learn from each other. Back at the training facility, Diana oversaw the first live fire exercise. The Peacekeeper hung in space, crew mixed between humans and Council species. All stations report ready, Captain Wilson called. Diana watched from the observation deck. Richard Hayes stood beside her. Nervous, Richard asked. Terrified, Diana admitted. We're about to test whether cooperation actually works. The exercise began. Automated targets appeared at various ranges. Targeting solution acquired. First Officer Wren reported. Plasma batteries ready, fire. Wilson ordered. Blue plasma struck the first target. Shields flared and collapsed. Clean kill. Second target 15,000 kilometers. Recommend kinetic approach. Railgun charging. The familiar hum of magnetic coils powering up fire. The tungsten round crossed the distance in seconds. The target exploded. Third target, multiple bogies mixed. Range staggered assault. Plasma on close targets, kinetic on distant ones. The Peacekeeper weapons came alive. Plasma batteries and rail guns fired in coordinated sequence. Energy shields absorbed incoming fire while return strikes eliminated threats. Wilson's voice came through. All targets neutralized. Zero friendly fire. Incidents. Systems performed within expected parameters. Diana felt tension drain away. It works. It actually works. Of course it works. Raymond's voice came through the comm. Good engineering is good engineering, regardless of whose equations you're using. Richard smiled. Should we tell him that half the council is still terrified of human weapons? Let them be terrified. Fear keeps people honest. Diana pulled up a strategic display. The Dominion is rebuilding. The Swarm Collective is mobilizing. The Ravager clans are raiding outer colonies more frequently. Testing our response times, Richard said. Exactly. They want to know if the alliance is real or just diplomatic. Theater, then we should show them. Diana nodded. I'll propose a joint patrol. Route, council, and human ships working together, visible presence along all 3 rogue borders. Drell will approve. He's become quite the advocate for cooperation since you saved his life. Since we saved his life. Diana corrected. This isn't human superiority, it's combined strength. She watched the peacekeeper maneuver through post-ex exercise checks, human crew and council species working side by side, arguments in 3 languages about calibrating sensors, shared meals in the galley where beings with completely different biologies found common ground. 6 months ago, the council had demanded humanity disarm. Today they trained together, learned together, prepared together for whatever threats lurked in the dark. The railgun shot that destroyed the crusher of suns hadn't just saved a fleet, it had shattered assumptions, broken down walls built from 6,000 years of thinking. There was only one right way. Now they had 2 ways: energy and kinetic, precision and power, elegance and brutality. And somewhere in the synthesis of both approaches they'd found something stronger than either alone. Diana opened a comm channel. Captain Wilson, excellent work. Prepare the peacekeeper for deployment. We're going to show the rogues what cooperation looks like. Understood, Admiral. Where are we headed? Diana studied the map. 3 rogue empires, 1 alliance, infinite possibilities. Everywhere. They're not expecting us. 20 years after the first railgun fired, Admiral Diana Ross stood in a classroom full of cadets. Half were human, half were from various council species. All wore the same uniform. Who can tell me why the Battle of Sector 7 Gamma changed galactic military doctrine? She asked. A young crystallite raised their appendage. The human rail gun destroyed a ship that energy weapons couldn't partially correct. Next, human cadet spoke up. It proved that different approaches can be equally valid. Diana nodded. Better but incomplete. The battle changed everything because it forced both sides to question their assumptions. The Council assumed energy weapons were the pinnacle. Humanity assumed we'd always be outsiders. Both were wrong. She pulled up a tactical display. The galaxy spread in holographic glory. Blue zones marked council space. Green showed human territory, much larger now. Yellow indicated independent species who joined the alliance. Red zones for the rogue empires were noticeably smaller. The Dominion, Swarm, Collective, and Ravager clans still exist, but they're contained. Why combined arms doctrine? A silicate cadet answered. Energy weapons and kinetic weapons working together create coverage neither can achieve alone. Exactly, and what did that teach us? The classroom fell silent. Diana smiled. That diversity isn't weakness, it's strength. The council spent 6,000 years believing uniformity created power. They were wrong. The strongest systems adapt. After class, Diana walked through the academy grounds. Richard Hayes met her near the memorial garden, gray-streaked his hair. Now, the council voted this morning, he said. Humanity has been offered a permanent seat in the High Council, equal status with the founding species. Diana stopped walking. We've only been members for 20 years. 20 years that changed everything. Drill argued that the ability to adapt matters more than the length of your history. How did the Vote go unanimous. Even the species who opposed us originally voted in favor. They walked through the garden. Memorials to fallen warriors from every species line the paths, human names next to crystallite designations, next to silicate identifications, all equal in sacrifice. Sometimes I wonder if we did the right thing, Diana said quietly, lying to the council, hiding our weapons. We didn't start it, we finished it. Richard gestured to the garden. These people died because the council was too rigid to adapt. If we hadn't challenged their assumptions, the Dominion would have found a way to exploit their blind spots. And now we have an alliance that combines the best of all approaches. Nobody fights alone because nobody has to. Across the galaxy, Admiral Clara reviewed intelligence reports. The Dominion had spent 20 years trying to match human railgun technology. They'd succeeded after a fashion, but by then the Alliance had moved on to hybrid systems that combined both approaches. We're always one step behind, his chief scientist reported. They share technology across species barriers. They innovate faster than we can copy, craft. Studied the strategic map, red zones getting smaller year by year, yellow zones growing as independent species sought the Alliance's protection. Perhaps, he said slowly, we've been fighting the wrong war, sorry. We've spent 20 years trying to match their weapons, but weapons aren't why they're winning. They're winning because they learn to work together, to combine strengths instead of demanding uniformity. Back on Earth, Patricia Wolf sat in her office. She retired from active service but remained as an advisor. The walls held photos from her career, the war room where she'd authorized the Retribution's deployment, the ceremony where humanity joined the council. Message appeared on her screen from Craft requesting a meeting, proposing discussions about Dominion integration into the Alliance structure. Patricia smiled. 20 years ago that would have been unthinkable. Today it was inevitable. The galaxy was learning what humanity had known. Adaptation beats tradition. Cooperation beats isolation. And the best weapon is the one you never have to fire. She approved the meeting request in the memorial garden. Diana and Richard stood before a specific monument. 2 names, Diana's brother, Richard's mentor, both died in conflicts that might have been prevented if the galaxy had learned cooperation earlier. You think they'd be proud? Diana asked. I think they'd be arguing about whether we went too far or not far enough, Richard said, and then they'd buy us a drink and tell us to keep pushing forward. Diana nodded. The sun was setting, casting long shadows. Human, crystallite, silicate, and dozens of other species walked the paths. Together, students debating tactics, friends sharing meals, warriors from different worlds finding common ground. The first rail gunshot had shattered more than a ship. It had shattered the illusion that there was only one right way to survive. From those broken pieces, something better had emerged. Not human dominance, not council superiority, just cooperation. Simple, difficult, essential cooperation between beings who'd learned that their differences made them stronger. Diana looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the peacekeeper fleet patrolled. Human and council crews working side by side, protecting a galaxy that had finally learned to protect itself by embracing diversity instead of demanding conformity. The railgun shot that shocked the galaxy had become the foundation of galactic peace. not through fear but through the realization it brought that every species had something to offer,